4th. This is our weekly development check-in. Before we get into the agenda, I'd like everyone here to introduce themselves. So Nate, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Nate Lampton, core committer in Oakland, California. And there's a lot of things that are happening and a lot of things in RTPCQ. So that's really great. That's it for me. Ta-da.
Luke, you're next.
I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web product manager consultant in San Ramon, California. I used to be a developer, and there actually, I periodically dip my toes back into it, and I've been doing a lot of dipping recently. So who knows? Maybe I'll, reaffix that title to myself at some point in the near future.
Great, Joseph.
I am Joseph from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm a backend developer, just looking for ways to help.
And Justin, I don't know if you're available to introduce yourself. He's muted. Okay, Justin Christopherson is also here from Colorado. All right, so jumping into the agenda, we have an exciting update from the Project Management Committee. Since our last meeting, we have had enough Project Management Committee members vote on the new initiative item. So we had proposed a telemetry module being added to core being something that might be good as an initiative, and making Backdraft usable without requiring custom theming. We talked a little bit about the theming initiative in the last meeting, so I'm not sure if we need an update from that here, but maybe I was thinking it would be good to have a section in this weekly meeting where we could talk about the initiatives every week too. So at the bottom of this agenda, I've added in the initiative section an area that says update from Luke and update from Jeff. So when we get to that, we can do that. It's not today because we just found out their initiatives, but starting next week. Okay, let's see. So in terms of what happens next, announcing in this meeting that the initiatives have been accepted or approved would be good. And then we had some forum posts where the initiatives were originally written up. So I'll go after this meeting to those posts and add some comments there saying which ones have been accepted. And the ones that haven't been accepted have not been rejected. They just haven't been accepted yet. So I think if people are still passionate about doing those things, we should revisit after the next release. And I'll add comments saying that there also. And then I also think it would be great if we wrote up a blog post about initiatives. I was gonna ask for a volunteer if anybody wants to write that blog post. There are a couple people I had in mind for it, but I haven't seen them around lately, I think because of all of the things that are happening in the real world. So if somebody else wanted to take over, I'm open to that. So that includes people who are watching this call later as opposed to people who are participating now. And then since last week, we've had 2 new contributed project updates. There is Thesis, which I think is a theme. Yeah, it's a theme that extends basis. And then there's the Select 2 module, which adds better options for select widgets and forms. All right, let's turn it over to Nate.
Hey, folks. All right, so things are just rolling on as usual in the Backdraft issue queue. 1.16.2 is our next bug fix release for fixing issues that we're currently experiencing. There are a couple of regressions in the text format user interface. So we made some changes to the way the text formats and editors are saved in 1.16, and there's a couple of things that are lingering there that need to be addressed. One of them is that if you have a disabled text format in 1.16, we added the ability for you to see when a text format is disabled instead of just hiding it from the user interface, but it's still actually being there. When you disable a text format, it stays within the list, letting you know that that format had been there previously, but it's now disabled. If you have a disabled format in the list, but then you save the order of the formats into something else, then that results in creating an empty format, which is just a weird thing that shouldn't be happening. So that's issue 4419. Indigo Zealot and Herb Duel have fixed that in the past week, and that has just been merged in just before this meeting. So that issue has been corrected. There's another regression on that same page, though, that when you save the filters into a different order, the form doesn't reflect the newly saved order. They actually are saved into the new order. It's just that the form doesn't display them in the new order. And so that visual regression is highly confusing and needs to be fixed. So that's issue 4407, the regression in the ordering, and there's no pull request yet to correct that issue. So let's see. Other similar, maybe not similar, but other things that are in the 116.2 milestone that are worth noting. Currently, there's a limitation that you cannot remove blocks when switching layouts. So if you, hang on, I'm not sure if I can adequately explain this one. You should be able to, when you switch from one kind of, if you change a page's layout from one layout to another, you should have the opportunity to remove blocks during that conversion. I think that that's the crux of it. The issue is 4420. And BW Panda has already submitted a pull request on that one, and it is already RTBC as well. So that's great. Lots of issues that are getting bug fixes in. One issue that is part of the views, maybe not part of the views crossports, but feature parity with Drupal 7 is issue 4382. It has to do with translation within views, that it restores the ability to use localization or locale module to translate strings within views configurations. And so this was something that had been removed in the part of the port to backdrop, and Indigo Zealot has restored that functionality in that pull request. So that issue is also RTBC. So that's great. Lots of things that are in the queue. 116.2 still has a lot of open issues, many of which are needs work, but there's also another 8 or so RTBC issues that I'm hoping I'll be able to get through soon. That's it for the 116.2 update. Over here on 117, 117 is our next release that will include new features and functionality. Its release date is September 15th, with feature freeze on September 1st. I haven't seen this issue remove unnecessary string concatenation. That seems odd that that's in 117. Jen, do you know anything about this one?
I added it because I saw it in the milestone.
Huh, okay.
It might have been added there mistakenly, like maybe it's a bug fix issue, but it's marked RTBC, so I don't know, maybe one of the other committers.
Yeah, it seems odd. It just looks like a bug fix, but if it changes an API or something, I don't know. We'll see about that. Okay, that issue is 4424. It's currently marked RTBC. Maybe that could just use some eyeballs to get it into the right milestone. It seems like removing unnecessary string concatenation, it sounds like a pretty minor thing. Let's see, the other issue that we've got in the 117 milestone for real is an issue that, Jen, you have been working on, 4410. Do you want to give us an update on that?
This is not officially in the 117 milestone for real, because I think it should be there, but nobody else has chimed in on the issue and believes that this feature needs to be included in the next feature release. So I would like more eyes on it to see if maybe somebody else does agree with that. But essentially it allows you to check a box on your themes page, so that right now you can choose to display like the content editing form in the administration theme. Now you can also choose to display the login form in the administration theme. And the login form, when displayed in the administration theme, will like center everything in the middle of the page, and it removes the login register tabs, like stuff that themes often really commonly do to the login pages. So that if you have a website that only people who are administrators log into, you don't need to worry about theming those pages. You can just check this box and it'll use the theme that they're going to see once they're logged in anyway. Nate mentioned this a couple of weeks ago in a meeting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that would save me so much time, because I always end up trying to theme the login registration pages. Even when I know only my administrators are going to see them, they bother me, like slightly embarrassed if they don't look nice. And I would love it to just be able to check a box and not have to worry about it anymore. So yeah, it's ready for testing. I got some feedback on it that it needed on the login form. We have to make sure we still have the links to reset your password and create a new account. And I removed the tabs, and so I need to add them as links into the form. So they'll be there shortly, and then we can have more testing.
Super. That's great. Let's see, checking the 117 milestone. We don't have anything else in the 117 milestone as of yet. However, the initiatives could start to create issues into the next milestone here in the near future. So that includes telemetry. Telemetry conceptually is to report on the way that people are using their Backdrop websites, so that we can make decisions about what features and functionality are important within core. And then Backdrop without a custom theme. Luke, it looks like you're the advocate or initiative lead for this. And I guess you guys just covered this last meeting. Do we want to recover it in any way? Can you give us like a 1-sentence version?
I can give a 1-sentence version of anything.
A 4-sentence version.
I'm enthusiastic to move forward with it. I've been kind of working on pieces of the puzzle in the interim. My hope feeling, which could be hopelessly optimistic, is that it should be relatively straightforward. I think the heavy work is in problem definition, and once we have that down, actually executing the problem should be straightforward. But I'm just sort of curious to see how the process works. I'm hopeful and optimistic that we can, knock this one down and use it as a example of how to painlessly get this done, and then move on to something else.
Cool. That was 8 sentences. That was pretty good.
You were counting?
I was.
Love it.
There could have been semicolons in there.
Yeah, there was a button there that I wasn't sure whether or not to make a new sentence or not. Okay, let's see. One other thing that came up, Serendipity or Jeff last week asked me in Zulip, mentioned he wanted to include it in the agenda. And that's an issue that has long been stuck. It's automated code style checks like PHP, CS, doing things like checking spaces and tabs and indentation and variable names and all of those documentation, those sorts of things. The issue is 3213, and it's been blocked for a long time. And my suggestion on this is that Jeff has posted a great pull request that might make it work. But the thing is that it's hard for us to tell because our YAML file for configuring how ZenCI works is stored on backdropcms.org. And we have to make modifications to both core and to backdropcms.org in order to make that change. And as part of the new packaging changes that happened just recently, we can now put YAML files in our core repository, but have them excluded from the downloaded packages. And so my suggestion is that we should stop using this YAML file that's hosted on backdropcms.org and instead start including YAML files directly in the repository. That makes it so that when you file a pull request, you can actually see if the changes to the YAML file do what you expect them to do, like run the automated code checks. So without that, I felt that we would, the first pull request wouldn't work, and then we'd have to merge a second one, and then a third one, and then a fourth one, and we had to do that every single time we wanted to try out a change. And now we can just make a pull request and see if the change worked before we merge it. And then if it looks good, then we can merge it in. So
Don't
I hope
we
that,
have some work to do to make sure there's actually something that reads the YAML file and runs the test. 'Cause I don't think ZenCI does any of that right now.
I think that, yeah, so in order for the YAML file to actually be read, you have to have the webhook enabled that makes it so that ZenCI like gets notified when a pull request is made. And that change is already in place. So ZenCI is already being notified on pull requests. And then it's a good question about where does it get the YAML file from? I think that if we added a YAML file, it would probably use it.
But I'm not even sure like there is anything that checks code style. So we're adding a YAML file for what reason? Just so that if somebody somewhere adds one to their like local site, it would run, or
Oh no, this is for core pull requests that we
Right,
would we would also add PHPCS. What's that?
we need some software somewhere that reads this file and runs a code check.
Correct. ZenCI will read the file, and then as part of the pull request that Jeff has filed, PHPCS is downloaded and installed onto the web server that ZenCI is running.
Okay, so that what is so we have control over the configuration of what ZenCI installs.
Right. Yep. The YAML file controls what ZenCI
Oh,
installs.
I thought the YAML file controlled our coding standards for PHPCS.
No, PHPCS is a huge configuration that involves a bunch of XML files, actually.
Okay. Do we have that part?
I think
That's part of backdrop contrib /coder.
Yeah.
Encoder module. Okay.
Yep. And so I think that he pulls it in from coder module, which is kind of interesting that the code styles would live in contrib and not in core, and then core would be dependent upon the contrib project.
Well, if we now have the ability to remove files during the packager, we could move those into core and have them also excluded with the packager.
Yep, we could have, if we wanted to. My biggest opposition was just having files in the root of the project that
They have to be in the root in order.
the YAML files do, yeah.
I meant coder files because we.
No, they could be anywhere.
Okay, so we could put them in like MISC or something.
Yeah, and that's where we have a bunch of other stuff right now. That's like what is it that we have in there? We have some stuff that's like the settings.php file that's used by the not the tugboat demos, but the ZenCI demos, I think, or something like that. Like there's other automated platform stuff that's in the MISC directory that we keep in there already. So, and we don't strip that stuff out because our expectation is people aren't ever going to look in there in the first place. So
How big are the configurations for PHPCS? I got the impression a minute ago that they were large enough that you might not want them packaged.
They're both large and complicated. Yeah. I don't know quite how large they are.
Are there
but,
any other files with that extension that we need in Backdrop?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
They're XML files, you said?
Yeah.
Are there any other XML files that we don't want stripped? Is there any reason not to strip them?
I think it's more than just XML files. I think we also override some of the classes from coder or from PHPCS as well.
Trying to think of why you might want to keep it separate. It's possible that contrib modules also would want to do code style checks, and it might make more sense for them to pull down coder module, like to get the PHPCS rules in their own CI setup than it would to pull down core. But I'm not sure about that because they might also need to pull down core anyway to like run the tests. So
okay, so if we forget about developers and think about people who are actually downloading Backdrop via the tarball,
okay.
are those people going to need the PHPCS files? Like, would it benefit them for their like production version of the site in their own pipeline to be able to run those? Or do you think people who are going to be running code sniffing on their production pipeline are going to be able to do a git checkout and get the files that way?
It's a great question. So in the CI setups that I've done that are fairly complicated, they pull down coder module to get the XML files for PHP CS and then use that. And so, but they pull down like a tarball of coder module. So so I think maybe if it was in core, I don't think we should be stripping it out of the tarballs, because if we're encouraging, everybody should be using tarballs. They should be using releases, not git checkouts in their production sites. So the tarballs should include the PHP CS configuration wherever we're putting them, because on any production site, you should be using official releases of everything.
Okay. So would your recommendation be to leave everything in Coder and have core depend on Coder for our ZenCI setup, or to move the stuff from Coder into core?
I haven't reviewed it enough to really make a firm decision on that.
Okay. Well, let's keep that discussion open, because I really like the idea about having code checks, especially part of our automated testing, because there's a lot of stuff that sometimes sneaks in, or there's a lot of stuff that's in there already.
And it's a lot of extra work just to tell people that their indentation is wrong, you know, like the feedback loop is a lot faster if there's automated checks that are doing things like that for us, that, you know, it saves both the reviewers and the developers making the pull request time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out quite how this works. Why is this merged? Oh, I see. I merged something and then I reverted it. Okay. I was looking at the history of this issue because one of the pull requests that it references is already merged. Okay, never mind. That's it. That was general discussion. You guys have anything else you guys would like to bring up? Okay. I think that's it then. Okay. All right.
And early, that never happens.
No, it's crazy.
Well, it's the beginning of a release cycle, and so everybody's like, we've got lots of time. Right. So, okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us here, and yeah, we'll see you guys on the internet. Thank you. Bye.